I've learned a lot in the last 4 years about my culture, and that's where I say that I like to use it on stage, representing as many Indigenous artists, wearing different clothing. When I write my songs, I like to think about just different things that have happened in our culture that kind of relate to what I've been dealing with as a child, as a human being, as an Indigenous person.
Stopping along the cabbage vine, walking along the river all your night, barefoot girls dancing in the moonlight.
I love using art as a form on stage, off stage. I represent with the things that I'm wearing when it comes to Indigenous artists, from the earrings to the shirts to the ribbon skirts. And as I go on with using my music, I use words sometimes in Cree, sometimes I just use my own knowledge that I have from my culture and I try to represent it into my songs. I feel that music is definitely a part of healing, and when I went through some of my worst times in my life, being all alone without my parents, being in foster care and ripped from my culture, I would lean on music, and that's where I started writing.
I hear songs on the radio. They might be fast or they might be slow. Every song they play has got me thinking about.
Learning just, the culture that I've learned in the last 4 years has influenced my life in a big way. In the stories that I write about now, in the songs that I write about now. I wrote a few songs when I was a little girl, but it was more talking about the culture that I'd been ripped apart from. And now I'm trying to change that and start writing about the culture that I'm gaining knowledge of, which is great because that's where I want our children to see that, this is where I came from, but this is where I'm going.
I've never forgotten how you look that night, holding your sparkling wine with the moon up high.
One of the very first songs that I released was called God Took You Home. And I released this song when we had the unmarked graves come up. And it was very disturbing to myself, thinking about all those little babies, that what they had gone through. They were almost just like a number. This was torture, and to hear that this was happening to my people, and this is exactly why I was put in those foster homes. So I wrote a song called God Took You Home, and it just related to anybody who's experienced loss, and I dedicated it to MMMIW, and also Every Child Matters, anybody who's ever lost somebody, including myself, aunties that are still out there missing murdered Indigenous women. We need answers. We need them to realize that our voices and our people matter. You cannot pick up your phone and say, "Hey Siri, can you say hello in Cree?" Because there is no knowledge of that. That's where our people need to try and find it and pass it on to our youth. I would like to make a song and have it half Cree and then half English, but also with an elder and just embracing what I've learned, and then my culture itself, and having it and sharing it with everybody. That's kind of my goal in songwriting and where I'd like to be.
I was afraid to let them in, 'cause I'm not the trusting kind.
I just want to keep empowering children. I want to keep going out and seeing their faces smile and just light up. Some of these children don't even leave the reservations ever in their life. So if they come and they see one girl that can go out there and do it after she's been in the worst of the worst situation, absolutely. You'll see these little girls fly and spread their wings, and that's my hope.
You make me happy when skies are gray.
Never give up, keep shining, keep reaching for the stars. Like I said, I grew up very poor, through a lot of poverty. I grew up through some of the worst things in life that maybe any human being could go through. But that didn't stop me because I believed in myself, but I also believed that I wanted to empower the youth. Once I had children of my own, and once I had grandchildren, I realized that, I have to be that oyster for my children and for the children's children so that they can see that no matter what life throws at you, you can still pick yourself up, you can still reach for the stars and always believe in yourself. I just want to be that person that tells these children that they can do anything in this world.
Most projects that I start, I take a walk. I take a walk in the forest and I think about all the aspects of the project and the words that come up. And then I'll sit down with my sketchbook or with my canvas and just kind of dream up ideas. The messages that I'm sending are this idea of getting to know thyself, right? And being proud of who I am and sharing the knowledge through artwork. I always say that art, it's such a good vehicle to communicate emotion. Maybe you don't have language for something. So using the arts to communicate that can be such an incredible tool. I was very lucky to grow up with a diversity of people. I definitely had a lot of my Dene relatives around and my mom would speak the language. I've heard a lot of the legends and I was very lucky to have that knowledge when I was a kid. To bead with my mom, to learn these things, learn about lighting fires on the land and feeding the fire and feeding the water. All these aspects of Dene culture have been really integral to my existence and have created a foundation for me. I feel like I do weave those stories into my work. That's newer for me at this point. Like I feel like I've done a few legends, but I'm doing a deeper dive right now into my own ancestry. And I feel like I look forward to the connections that I'll build, the people that I'll meet, the stories that will inspire me, and I know that it will change my work. I feel like I've been really fortunate to sit with elders of different nations, and I've heard so many legends and stories, and I've had the honor of kind of taking those stories and incorporating them into my art. I like to sit with elders and knowledge keepers and synthesize that into art creation and writing. And through that, that's an exploration of my own identity. So even if I'm sitting with elders of other nations, of other Indigenous nations, it's encouraging to hear their stories and to hear their worldviews, and it really does spark that curiosity in me, the teachings of my own people and lineage. And like I say, that's just a lifetime journey that I'm on, just to learn about that and continue to explore it and have it inform my art. I've been exposed to a lot of different cultures throughout my life. I am such a big fan of diversity. I just love people and hearing stories from all different nations and lineages. In some ways, I feel like in the last few years I've been delving deeper into my own ancestry, and that's kind of part of my master's research at this time. So I'm doing an MFA at the U of A, and I've been kind of going deeper into my own ancestry, and I feel like it's an important aspect to be able to know your identity, know where your roots come from, and be able to speak from that place of authenticity, and then branch out from there. So I really love the idea of collaborative work as well, and that includes working with many different nations of people, but also bringing my authentic Indigenous and non-Indigenous views. So I'm half Dene, half Irish, and there's so much to be learned from both those lineages. And it's exciting to learn more about them myself and then kind of weave them into the greater world with others through collaborations. Art can really help to heal and strengthen community through, well, providing community, right? Coming together, having a space to be open and vulnerable and speak your mind, and the art really gives us tools to be able to help filter that and to be able to maybe release and let go of some of the things that we're holding on to and have others around us to support, and through conversation and ideas and knowledge synthesis. Yeah, I feel like art is such an important tool for healing on so many levels. I hope to see women coming together to share their knowledge and very specific identities, right? There's so many different nations in Canada of Indigenous people, and although there's sometimes similar threads that run through our spiritual practices or our ways of being and knowing, they're often very different too. So it's like coming together with each other, sharing stories, and hopefully sparking creative projects together in all the different art forms, and yeah, weaving our knowledges together like a braid of sweetgrass.
It is one of the oldest art forms out there, quill work. For me, it's like helps me remember where I come from, and just like continuing it and like wanting to do really good by it.
Even now is the time goes by so slow. My memories say
I grew up around creative people, and that kind of like jump-started my creativity, and I just pull it from stories that my Muslims or my Gugums tell me, like the creation stories, and then it's like, oh, I should make something that represents that. It just helps me as an Indigenous woman to like sit down and focus on what I want to preserve, on what I want to have people remember me and my family by. And I think that's one of the things is I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing my family and what we stand for as Indigenous people. It brings people together, because when I was younger, we'd sit at the table in my Gugum's kitchen and we'd all craft together and just bounce that energy off one another. Oh, she's making something cool, I want to make something cool too. So you're just like getting on the roll with everything, and I think it's like really impactful because we get to sit there and talk and just have conversations. For one of my inspirations is my Muslim, so I made a piece about him, and it did get first in one of their categories, so I was really proud because it was my first time, and that really like a light bulb in my head, like, oh, I can keep doing this and present my work out there. I just want the message out there that we're here, we have all these ideas and stories that are passed down, and some of it is passed down through art, and like when we look at art, we can be like, oh, that's that story of the creation story. That's kind of what I want my future self to have an impact, is like, oh, she's telling stories through her work. She's telling everyone that we're still here through our artwork. And I think for me, I just want to pass down that my Muslims and my Gugums were resilient, and they fought to be here. They fought the system that they grew up in. They fought residential school, and they, as much as an impact that made on them, they're still here and they're still telling their stories. I hope we get the recognition that we deserve, because we are the backbone of our society, of our culture. I hope that people start to recognize that Indigenous women are very strong, and I've grown up around Indigenous women all my life. We carry a lot, and sometimes it doesn't get recognized. Until we're gone, people don't recognize what we do for our communities.
Longest day